recording pending. Okay, I'm recording this section right now. Okay. So I'll just do a quick review on Premiere. If you're lost at any point, you can just download the video file and rewatch later on your own time. And once you have all the files working in Premiere as well. Okay. So don't worry about it. So this is Adobe Premiere. And when you start Premiere for the first time, you need to create a new project. Okay. So the way it works is you need to change the location. First of all, change the location, go browse, and make sure you create it on your desktop. Okay. In here, you can just generate a new folder. Let's call it project. Select folder. So we do this because once we start Premiere for the first time, it creates a folder deep inside the system where Premiere will generate render files that it is going to work with in our timeline. Okay. So in case something bad happens with Premiere and we need to retrieve those files, making sure that we have that in the desktop makes our life easier and makes Premiere easier to work with as well. Okay. Then we move on to the time code. A time code is a sequence of 4 pairs of zeros. Okay. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The first one meaning hours, then minutes, then seconds, then frames, not milliseconds, frames. Okay. When we work with video, we count everything with frames. Okay. If you guys were in the film history class, you remember why that happens. Can I just ask everyone to mute your microphones so you don't cause any interference during the recording? So a time code, if you set up your sequence to 24 frames a second, which is the default worldwide, every 24 frames you go. What was that? Oh my God, guys, can you please all like silence your mics? Thank you. So every 24 frames you get a second, okay, and 12 frames will be half a second. All right. Now the capture format should be HDV, which is high definition video. All right. So let's not mess with the other settings. Just keep them general, and let's hit OK. Make sure you name your project. Make sure you create a new folder in your desktop and you set the location for your project, and then hit OK. Right, so this is the basic interface of Premiere. Okay, if yours is different by any reason, you go to Window, Workspaces, Editing. Window, Workspaces, Editing. Okay, and then you have the same configurations as I do. Okay, the first part of the screen here is our media visualizer. Then is our media manager, where we can find all the media that we bring into our project. Over here is our timeline, where we organize our media, and this is a timeline visualizer. Is where we watch our timeline once we start building it. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is to bring our media into Premiere to start. And the way to do that is to double click down here, or you can do Control-I. Or Command-I if you are on a Mac, and that stands for import. Okay. Sorry, wrong folder. Let's select all the videos that we have from the bridge scene and hit open. Bada bing, bada boom. We have our files now. Okay. If you're having technical issues at home at the moment, please just watch. This is being recorded. You can watch it later as well once you have all your Premiere and your files working. Okay, so I just brought our files in. Okay, if I double click this one, it will pop up over here, okay, in our media visualizer. Once I put a file here, okay, just by double clicking it from down here, it shows up as with a ruler down here, okay, and the ruler has this blue arrow, which is our time indicator, okay. It indicates where in time we are positioned into this video, okay. The time code here, the gray one, indicates the full duration of the video. In this case, is 0 hours, 1 minute, 21 seconds, and 21 frames. That's the full duration of this video. And the blue one shows me where the time indicator is sitting. Okay, if I click and drag here, I can move across the video. If I click and drag the time indicator, I can do the same. And also, if you have 3 fingers on the keyboard for JKL, J will play the video backwards. If you press again, it doubles the speed, then 4 times the speed, 8 times, and so on. K stops, and L plays the movie forward. And every time you play, you double the speed. Okay? So JKL is another way of you scrolling through your footage. All right? Now, each video that we have here is the same shot, but different takes joined together. Okay? So if I scroll through, you can see that this happens once, twice, 3 times. So we have 3 takes of this shot. All right? So this is a long shot where we can see both characters full on, okay? So the story here is pretty simple, okay? The guy standing on the bridge, looking in the horizon, and he seems like sad or worried about something. And then a mysterious woman walks up to him, gives him a piece of paper, he reads it, she walks away, and he looks back to the horizon. That's the story, plain and simple. Okay? Now, since we have multiple takes inside here, we need to figure out which ones do we want to keep in our timeline. As an editor, it's your job to pick what goes into the timeline and what doesn't. All right? So let me just move this. Let's say I want my clip to start right before the woman walks into frame. Okay? If I use the arrow keys on my keyboard, I can navigate frame by frame my footage. Okay? So I want it to start 1 frame before she steps in. So if I want my video to begin at this point in time, I can press I, and that will mark a Inpoint. I is for Inpoint. So if you look at my screen now, the ruler is highlighted from this point forward. Okay? And then let's say I want my shots to end here. So I'll just press O for Outpoint. So I have I and O, Inpoint and Outpoint. If you look at your keyboard, you see that JKL is right underneath I and O. Okay? So you can just use JKL and IO to navigate and Inpoint and Outpoint your footage as you go. All right? So now we have this little piece of footage highlighted down here. Okay, this is the bit that will go into our timeline once we bring it down here. Okay, so if I click on the image and drag down to my timeline, it will generate a timeline with the same technical specifications of the video that I just dropped in there. So the same resolution, the same codec, the same color information, all of that will be going to the timeline I just created. Okay? So now in the timeline, we can watch the bits that are selected. Boom. All right. Okay. So I choose to cut my footage right before the woman covers the dude. Okay. So that way I can actually cut to another shot. Let's say this one. Okay. One thing to keep in mind is when you are editing, you need to make sure you keep continuity flowing throughout the story, throughout the video. So in this shot, the woman has her right hand forward and the left foot forward, just like she is here. So let's say in this one, I will start from here and go all the way right before she hands in the letter to the guy. Let's say over here. So that way, when we watch, the position and movement remains the same. Okay? If it's running a bit laggy for you during the streaming, don't worry, it will be actually pretty sharp once you watch the recording later on. Okay? So now she's gonna hand over the letter to the guy, which means we gotta move on to this close-up shot over here. Okay? Show me the letter. Okay. I want this to begin right before the letter is up in the air to match the continuity of the movement. You can see in my timeline that I just like dragging and dropping the videos in sequence. So that way I have video 1, video 2, video 3 being played in sequence. All right. There she goes. That's the other angle. She hands over the letter and the guy reads it. Now, this is where it gets interesting because from here we can move to this shot. And this over-the-shoulder shot from the guy is what will change the story because we don't know what's written in the paper. We don't know that. But we can have a hint of what is written in the paper by the reaction of the woman over here. So this shot has plenty of reactions of her. Like this one here, where she's like looking really sassy to the guy. Right? She's like, I'll see you tonight. There's another reaction where she's like really worried and sad and scared that something will happen. There's another reaction of her looking at the guy like, Okay? So this is how you play with the sequence, right? And she walks away. She looks at him for a reaction and walks away. And now we need a reaction from the guy. Okay, this one, he's smiling. Very creepy and ugly smile. But he's happy. That's what matters, right? So let's end up here and just put this chunk forward. Just dragging and dropping, clicking on the image and dragging down to the timeline. So once we put everything together, it should look like something like this. He walks to him, hands over the letter, takes it, opens. She looks to him in a sassy way and walks out. And then he is happy, he's smiling. And he looks back at the horizon. Cool. That's it. So, just recapping a few tools that we saw here. You can do a Control-I on a Windows or Command-I on a Mac to import your footage into Premiere and bring that down here, okay? You can also just double-click this space once it's empty to bring more footage in, or you can simply just grab the footage from your folder and drag and drop it in here, okay? Once you have the footage, you double-click any of it to make it pop up on the top, okay, on this screen. Once you have the footage in there, you can navigate through it by dragging the time indicator, by clicking and dragging the blue time code, or by simply using JKL on your keyboard, okay? Once you figure out the section of the footage that you want to bring into the timeline, you press I to create an Inpoint, and then you press O to create an Outpoint. And this will dictate the beginning and the end of the section of the footage that you want to bring into the timeline. Once you do your in point and your out point, you just have to click and drag down to the timeline from the screen, okay, from the image. And as you do, it will play in sequence. Okay, very simple exercise. Okay, and also something to have in mind is Premiere also works with layers. Okay, by default, we have 3 video layers, V1, V2, and V3, and 3 audio layers, A1, A2, and A3. Okay, so these videos from the bridge scene, they're all mute, they have no sound. That's why the A1 here only shows a flat line. Okay, if it's footage with sound, you see a sound wave. All right. So each block here represents a, okay, that I had just put in sequence. Okay, you just drag and drop everything to your V1 layer. Okay, we are going to work with V2 and V3 in the future. All right, so that's the exercise for today. Download the footage, make sure Premiere is working. All right, and put the sequence together. I know you've done this before in the school. All right. Um, so all you have to do is basically redo this and take a screenshot of your final timeline and post here in the group. Okay, I'll stop the recording now.